God ask of you faithfulness, faithfulness, faithfulness.
Fighting for the family, standing for the church, laboring to return to a moral and biblically based culture.
This is the American Family Association at AFA Today.
So glad you're with us on AFA Today. Kevin McCullough, glad to be with you in the belly of the news beast, as we often refer to it, here in Lower Manhattan, in the shadow of the Freedom Tower, and in the just north of Trinity Church. It's AFA Today on AFR Talk, and the news headlines at the middle of this day couldn't be more punchy. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Going to try to keep on top of all of it as best we can. Kevin McCullough is my name. My phone number, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. This breaking news that Fox is just reporting in the last hour, that Russia has decided, they've decided to return a favor with a favor. They've decided to go after the United States, saying that because the United States put sanctions against Russia, Russia is now going to put sanctions against us. They slapped sanctions on top U.S. officials on Thursday, moments after President Obama imposed penalties on 20 Russians inside and outside the government, as diplomatic efforts over the Ukraine unraveled into a long-distance, what the news media are calling tit for tat. The newest sanctions would bar 9 American officials from entering Russia. The list includes John Boehner, Majority Leader Harry Reid, Senator John McCain, etc. Just as Vladimir Putin's government shrugged off U.S. sanctions earlier in the week, so did Americans targeted by Moscow. What does all of this mean at the end of the day? Oh, that we're not doing anything that's going to deter, change, influence, motivate Vladimir Putin to do anything different than what he's doing currently. That's what it means. It means that this whole game that we're playing is just full of fury. It's just uselessness. It doesn't mean anything. We're not doing anything that anybody cares about. We're getting mad and we're writing things on paper. And I'm not saying that we should be going to war. I'm not making that argument at all. All I'm saying is whatever we're doing now is ineffective. It's not causing any change in behavior. Some people think that that's not necessary. Some people think that if Russia wants to take over a country, we should just stay out of it and not even bother ourselves with it. And if that's you, then so be it. I think if history has taught us anything, it is when naked aggression is left unresponded to, that usually more aggression follows. And so if he is taking Crimea and Ukraine asks people for help, and all we do is get mad and say things that we put on paper. Oh, well, your great uncle's not allowed into the country anymore. Oh, yeah? Well, your second cousin's not allowed in our country. I don't know that any of that matters. I don't know that any of it makes any difference. But that's the latest. Russia saying, okay, two can play at this game. And they're deciding to do it. Russia is also doing something else that I think is far more significant. And this is something that every American should be concerned about. They've been saying this for a few days. They said it the last couple of days. They've reiterated it in the last 24 hours. But they are preparing to change their stance on whether they are prepared to change its stand and to, in response to what the U.S. is doing, say to the world, well, we might just let Iran get nuclear weapons. We might not think that it's such a necessary thing to see to it that Iran doesn't have weapons. We might just let them do it. And they say they're doing this in response, in retaliation to the sanctions that were already in place. Now that we've added more sanctions, it's probably an assured thing that they're going to do it. But Fox News says the statement is the most serious threat of retaliation by the Moscow government since the disputed region voted to join Russia over the weekend and Vlad Putin's government moved to annex that peninsula. NATO and U.S. leaders say they're prepared to do more. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney, who stepped in a little controversy of his own in the last little bit, said Wednesday that the administration is looking to expand the sanctions further. They did that this morning, and in doing so, Russia countered with putting sanctions against the U.S. Ukraine's security chief announced Wednesday that his country will hold joint military exercises with the United States and Britain and said the Ukraine will hold military maneuvers with the countries that signed the 1994 Budapest Memorandum. He did not elaborate beyond that. The document was signed by the U.S., Britain, and Russia to guarantee Ukraine's territorial integrity when it surrendered its share of Soviet nuclear arsenals to Russia after the Soviet Union broke up in 1991. Ukraine has accused Russia of breaching the agreement by taking over the Crimean Peninsula. So that story goes on. It's not getting any better. No one respects us in the world, especially Vlad Putin. He is determined to do whatever he wants, and he fully well believes that there's not one single thing that President Obama can do that can injure him, cause him to have some sort of remorse about what he's done, or change what he feels about what he's doing now. And that's an interesting path to go down, because one of the goals that the president came into office with was that the world would not be as afraid of our American military might. And I think he's succeeded in that job. I don't think not only are people not afraid of us, I don't think they respect us. I could ask this question, and this would be an interesting one to have on the broadcast today. Is it better for America to be liked in the world or to be feared? From a moral standpoint, from what is good for the most number of people standpoint, how do you think about that? Because that's kind of the difference in where a lot of people come down. They want people to be our buddy, but they don't necessarily have respect for us. 888-589-8840. Interesting story to kick off the show with today. Do you think America should desire to be liked by the world, or is it better for us to be feared? 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. I'm very interested to see what people will say about that. 888-589-8840. Okay, so we've got those two things going on in the Russian story. Saw this economic story early this morning. Put it on the Facebook early this morning. Lots of people have weighed in so far, but there are some that write on the Facebook page that constantly want to weigh in on stuff and pretend that they're independent or in some way nonpartisan when they're really just Obama supporters parading as non-supporters of his abortion policies, etc. And that's okay, but I would rather you just say who you are. Yeah, I support the president. Okay, I didn't. Now, it doesn't make either one of us a good person or a bad person. We can sit down and talk about why. What were the reasons why? It doesn't have to become personal. It doesn't have to become mean. But it's just good to be able to say, this is where I stand. This is where I come. This is where I come from. This is what I'm about. When newspapers got started in America, a lot of people don't realize this. Many of them were named the XYZ Republican, the XYZ Democrat. Every newspaper that was of any circulation importance in American history always had a very clear editorial page where they came from, what kind of worldview they held. And at the end of the day, the society was made better not because one newspaper was made forced by law to remain neutral and to try to force neutrality on everybody. Neutrality is dumb. Nobody's neutral about anything. Honestly, pick a subject. Guns. Okay, so there's going to be people that are, well, I'm neutral on guns. No, you're not. Do you think you think one of two things? Should there be more guns or less guns in the society today? And a lot of people would say, well, I believe there should be less guns. We want more peace. And other people would say, we want more peace. We believe there should be more guns. There's all kinds of ways of dissecting this, but it's better to start with honest premises and to be like, okay, this is where I'm coming from, and here's the rationale for why I think that. You know why that's all important? Because there are billions of dollars being invested today, friend, in this country to keep you confused, to purposefully see to it that you don't have a clear understanding of facts or timetables or chronologies or anything else. They just want you to have a feeling. They want you to feel something in what is reported. They don't necessarily want you to make determinations of whether you believe it to be right or wrong on your own. And at the end of the day, that's just really messed up. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. So anyway, I see this story that proves a premise that I put on this show 3, maybe 6 weeks ago, something like that. And I said, this was right after the State of the Union when the president said, let me be clear, I'm going to raise the minimum wage in the federal government auspices. We're going to raise the minimum wage up to $10.10. Let me be clear. This is what we're going to do. So I did it. And I said at the time, if you force that upon the general public, that what you're going to do is you're going to unemploy people. You're going to create economic stagnation. You're going to create problems in the flow of how people get their goods, how people have their jobs, and how businesses operate. And I got scorn on my Facebook page. People like, you don't know what you're talking about. Who made you an economist? Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, I'm sure that was the kind of voice they had in their head when they were saying the things on my Facebook. That was all I heard. No matter what they wrote, I said, that's what was going on in my brain. But here's the thing. I was right. I knew I was right at the time. Didn't take a genius to figure out I was right because it's just logic. But it's actually worse than what I thought. I thought there would be some negative economic activity created. But a new study's been done. A study has found that was put together by the Express Employment Professionals, the nation's largest privately held staffing firm. These are people that help supply employees to companies, and that's what they specialize in. They surveyed over 1,200 businesses, human resource professionals, etc., nationwide. They asked them if businesses would be impacted if the minimum wage was increased. 38% of all of those businesses, okay, that's just 2 ticks away from 40%. 38% of all those businesses, more than a third, said that employers will have to lay people off if the minimum wage increase is instituted. 54% of the study's participants said they would reduce hiring. So maybe they're not going to let people go, but they're not going to hire people as fast as they would have otherwise. So even though it's not directly laying people off, it is still slowing down the opportunity for employment that would otherwise be different. You would be at a faster employment rate if you had no increase in the minimum wage. And lastly, 65%, 2/3 of all of the business owners that took part in the survey conducted by Express Employment Professionals, a staffing firm, 2/3 of those businesses said we would have to raise prices on goods and services just to meet the demand. Now, who does that hurt? Does it hurt the employees to mandatorily increase minimum wage? Yes, it always does. How do you know, Kev? Well, this study proves it. But I was saying it before. When government comes in and says you have to spend money on this, the government is an entity that contributes zero to your business. They don't do anything to help your business succeed. They do a lot of things to help it not succeed. They tax you. They tax you again. There's other taxes. They keep taxing. Taxing yesterday, maybe next week. Taxing. They do all kinds of... Oh, and regulation. They put all kinds of regulations on you. They do a lot of things to help your business not succeed. They don't ever do anything to help your business succeed. And if you raise the minimum wage, as the president suggested that all businesses do, 2/3 of the businesses surveyed in this study said we would have to raise prices just to meet those external demands. The government can make demands, but they can't contribute to the welfare of your company. AFA Today, AFR Talk. I'm Kevin McCullough. Take your calls next.